I spent 3 months working in Taiwan, and it still feels strange to say that out loud because everything happened so fast and it felt just like a dream. One day I was still in Malaysia working on my research work, and then somehow the next day I was living in a different country in the middle of winter and building a life that I hadn't planned for.
欢迎 Weasley 来台湾耶！
Now that it's over, I'm still trying to make sense of all of this. I want to try to put this into words, not as a travel guide, not as a highlight reel of the best things I ate or the best places I went, but just a simple video of what these 3 months actually were and what it meant to me. Alright, let me rewind a little. Before I went to Taiwan, I was actually finishing up my master's research back at University of Malaya. Most of the work was done. I had completed my research, I written and submitted my thesis. The only thing that's standing between me and graduation was actually getting my research paper published. And if you've never been through that process before, let me tell you, publication can be painfully slow and it would sometimes take up to months just to get accepted. And it's not like they didn't plan around it. So I actually started writing pretty early on during my second or third semester, and everything seemed to be going well. We made it through 2 rounds of peer review, and I had carefully gone through all the comments and also revised the paper accordingly. And after 10 full months, the paper finally reached the editor's desk waiting for his final decision. And I remember thinking that finally this is going to be over and I'll be able to graduate very soon. But in the end, it got rejected. And the reason was because the editor thinks that the research topic or the direction was a little bit out of scope from your journal. So, just like that, almost a year of work gone, right? And we had to start all over again. So that means I'm still stuck as a student and I'm not able to move on to the next stage in my life. But it was during this time that I found out about this program called the International Internship Pilot Program, or IIPP for short. So it's basically a research-based internship for you to experience Taiwan's academia for a maximum of 3 months. It also comes with a daily stipend, so it's able to support you both academically and also financially. If you're interested, you can look for more details about the program from the website that I'll link down below. So why did I personally decide to join this program? Actually, I didn't overthink things too much because it kind of made sense to me back then. I was still stuck as a student, and for this program you actually need to be an active student to be eligible. Also, since I come from a research background, I wanted a little bit more exposure, so I thought that going abroad might be able to broaden my horizons a bit. But if I'm being honest here, I felt that I needed this 3 months for some space. Not space from the people in my life, but actually space from myself, or the version of me that has already been sitting at the same desk, staring at the same problems for years. So if you don't know who I am, I'm actually a research assistant and I've been in University of Malaya for almost 7 years now, since my bachelor's. So I felt that I needed to step out of this environment that I had been in for so long and think about what comes next. Should I do PhD, work? Who knows? So without much thought, I started applying for the program using the IIPP platform. So there are plenty of different universities, research topics, and also supervisors for you to choose from. You just need to apply, maybe go through an interview, but honestly the whole system is actually pretty simple to navigate through. So from there, I got a few offers, but before I really had time to sit down and think about how this internship might affect my student life or even personal life, I went on and accepted an offer from Asia University, which is a private university located in Taichung. And because of my reckless decision, there were many loose ends that I had to tie before going to Taiwan. For example, I'm going to be leaving my girlfriend for 3 months, which is a quarter of a year. So I definitely got an earful for that. I also had to sort things out with my supervisor back in Malaysia since I'll be away for an extended period of time, and it definitely wasn't easy, but just in the blink of an eye, I was already packing a bag, saying goodbye to the people I love, and getting on a plane all alone. Well, to be fair, it actually isn't my first time visiting Taiwan, but arriving this time felt completely different. Because before this, I came as a tourist and there was always a plan of, what to see, where to go, and what to eat. But this time, I arrived with no itinerary, zero plans, nothing at all. And my mindset going for this internship was, okay, the only thing that I need to do is to survive for 3 months, which is easier said than done because Taiwan in December is nothing like Malaysia. It is the winter season, so the nights are cold, there's barely any rain, and the days are also shorter as well. I still remember my very first evening there. I was on the bus from Taipei to Taichung, and I video called my girlfriend who was just off work in Malaysia. So it was around 6 p.m. for the both of us because there's no time difference. But I could see that on her side of the screen, it's still, bright and sunny outside. But for me, everything is already completely dark. It's such a small detail, but it was the moment where it really hit me that I wasn't in Malaysia anymore. And it was kind of scary, not gonna lie, because it was my very first day and I was about to start a new life somewhere that I wasn't fully familiar with. But I guess that's just part of life, right? Because change is always inevitable and we just have to learn how to adapt and make things work. Now, my day-to-day internship life was honestly pretty simple. Most of my time was spent on the laptop, either reading research papers, drafting ideas, or going back and forth with my supervisor, working on the research direction. My research was dry lab based, so if you don't know what that means, let me just give you a quick explanation. Basically, there are two types of research, wet and dry. Wet labs are where you do hands-on experimentations with maybe like liquids, cells, or chemicals. So picture someone in their white lab coat doing science experiments. And dry labs, on the other hand, focuses on computational work, such as data analysis, mathematical modeling, or even simulations. And that is what I was involved in, as my research direction was a little bit leaning towards the theoretical side, and my main role for this internship was to actually turn ideas into words. So in a way, the only thing that I need for me to actually do my work is a laptop and also internet connection. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't so different from my life back in Malaysia because I was also working on dry lab, research. The only difference right now is everything outside of work. So after work hours, I spend most of my time with my professor and also his family. And we will go for meals, sometimes even take short trips to places further out from Taichung. And in the evenings, I sometimes tutor his daughter to prepare her for exams. I never expected to revisit, topics like physics formulas or biology processes. And the most crazy part is I had to relearn all of this in Mandarin. And I won't say that I actually changed her life, but a few days ago, I did get a call from them saying that she actually scored pretty well for her science papers. So if any of you out there have younger siblings that needs tutoring, hit me up because apparently being a personal tutor is now part of my CV. Anyways, back to the overall life in Taiwan. I was there from December to February, which for me is the best time to visit because of the many festivals in between. I got to experience Christmas, New Year's, Winter Solstice, and also Chinese New Year when I was there. And honestly, it's not as happening as what we have here in Malaysia because we have all these crazy amounts of fireworks here. But celebrating it in a different country with different people brought me closer to living a life as a local. And it was this small domestic slices of life that made me realize that I no longer was spending time exploring Taiwan. Instead, I was learning how to live and exist in it. The pace is so much slower, and the experience shifted my entire perspective on what it means to actually spend an extended period of time abroad. It might seem exciting or unique to most people, and honestly, it still does to me. But it feels very different when you're actually there, working and experiencing daily life like a local. And in a way, that shift in this perspective is what I'll be taking with me as this chapter slowly comes to an end. Last 24 hours here in Taiwan. These 3 months have been quite a journey for me. Like I mentioned, I came to Taiwan when I was still in the phase where I was stuck as a student, and there were a lot of uncertainty and questions in my life about what are the next steps for me. What direction do I actually want to go into? Do I want to pursue a PhD? Do I step into the working world? Do I even know what I'm good at? Even now, I'm still trying to figure these things out as I go, but I think Taiwan has given me enough space and time to think things through, and it also gave me an opportunity to see what it's like doing research in an entirely different setting. This chapter may be coming to an end, but I'm very grateful for everything that it has given me, and who knows, maybe I'll be back here again someday. I think it's a general consensus that Taiwanese people are pretty friendly and also polite, and I do agree with that. However, one thing to note is that Mandarin is the main spoken language there in Taiwan.
现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋。
And even my conversations with my supervisor was also in Mandarin. So if you're considering a program like this, being comfortable with it isn't just helpful, it's pretty important. Transport wise, I think it's pretty convenient, comparing it to Malaysia, of course. And the cost is pretty low as well. Their public transports are very well integrated with Google Maps, and it'll tell you which bus to take, and even the bus itself is tracked live. So you'll know when it'll arrive and when you should be at the bus stop. Other than buses, my personal favorite method of getting around is actually by cycling, using U-bikes. So U-bikes are actually their public bicycle systems. You just need to tap your card and you'll be able to ride around, and the first 30 minutes is also free. So sometimes I'll actually just rent it and cycle around for fun around the city, and those were pretty fun times. Now for food, it feels very similar, very familiar, especially coming from Malaysia, since most of our staple food are also rice and noodles, but it's generally less spicy compared to Malaysian food. But one noticeable difference, which I think would be very important for some of you out there, is that it is actually very hard to find halal food. And the only workaround is, I think, you could go look for vegetarian stalls or restaurants, which is also pretty rare there. So yeah, that's that. Anyways, there is tons of food for you to try there. So definitely go out there and explore, especially the night markets, and even the convenience stores are pretty unique.